This is episode 55 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. We finally have some actual game action to talk about with the Bengals and Browns this week. And each team finished the first of their three preseason games with a win this week. So that was nice. Both the Bengals and the Browns won their respective game, but honestly, we don't really care much about that because it's the preseason, doesn't count. We're a little bit more focused on how certain players performed and how position battles played out. And also, we've got a guest on the podcast this week, a Bengals fan and a personal friend of mine, Brad McGee. Say hi, Brad.
How's it going?
Hell yeah. Bengals going to win the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, the unrealistic fan in me wants to say yes.
Well, okay.
But realistically, within the next three.
I can see that.
I think so.
I think potentially we could win more games than a lot of people suspect.
I think if Zach Taylor gets his crap together and manages to pull the team together, then they will win the Super Bowl in the next three. But if they have to fire Zach Taylor and start all over, I don't know.
I mean, if the starting line can play like the line did during the preseason game, I'm not that worried. Because if Chris Evans can devour a defense like that, and then Jacquez Patrick, there's a good likelihood mixing. Yeah, I get you, but they're worse than the starters.
Yeah. By the way, Kyle.
Yes,
by the way, Kyle, the Steelers still suck. But I really need to say something about point.
No.
I didn't say something about point. I didn't say something about point you just made. I just cannot let this point go. You said if the Bengals fire Zach Taylor, then they're going to have to restart from the beginning. I would disagree with you.
No, I think
if they fire Zach Taylor, I think if they fire Zach Taylor, that if they fire him and if they're supposed to fire him because he wasn't performing because the talent is getting better than he could ascend with the talent, I think your team would take off. I think the exact opposite. If he's not the right coach.
I think the problem with, I'm not saying that if they have another terrible season, I'm not saying firing Zach Taylor is a bad call or anything like that. I'm just saying, if they do have to fire Zach Taylor, they're going to have to accept that it might be another year or two added on to the process. And that's even if you find the right coach. If you find the wrong coach, then, you're just right back at square one. But
I mean, y'all got the quarterback already. It's all about development with the quarterback. The quarterback's on year two, no matter what coach y'all bring in next year. The quarterback's on year three. Excuse me.
Well, yeah, Joe Burrow's going to be on year three, but you still got to have a whole team around him. And if you fire Zach Taylor, then the vision that he's been building toward this whole time, you got a bunch of really good players, but I feel like Bengals had a bunch of really good players when Zach Taylor came in. They just didn't really work in Zach's system. So if you got a new coach coming in, they're going to have a new system, and these might not be his guys. That door does not need to be open. And
look what Kevin Stancy did. Honestly,
that's true. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'd say if I had to bet, it probably wouldn't work out so well for the Bengals if they did have to fire Zach Taylor.
I honestly think he's going to be safe.
I think he'd be safe too.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think we'll at least win 7 games this year.
I don't think it's unreasonable at all. I don't worry about Taylor as much as most Bengals fans. It's too early to really grade the guy.
His first year he came into a failing system that had plenty of problems. You know what I mean? Didn't really have time to.
It's too early to grade the guy, but we're getting there.
I think he's going to win 10.
Look at how long we were comfortable with mediocrity with Lewis, though.
I wasn't. I've been calling for Marvin Lewis to be fired since friggin' 2012.
So is every other Bengal fan, but how long have we wanted the owner out?
Well, I'm talking from the perspective of a Bengals fan.
I think we could. The preseason was hopeful because if the third stringers are creating the space enough for Chris Evans to devour a defense, it opens the door for Mixon to have a big year. And then especially with the passing game, he's going to have a nice year to begin with. You know what I mean? You pretty much have 3 starting wide receivers on our core.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then you add in Uzama, Sample, potentially Moss. I just Mixon's going to eat this year if that line can hold up like halfway. You know what I mean? Like they don't even have to be stellar.
Bengals are going to have the second best offense in the AFC North.
I think the next couple of years it's going to be a Cincy Cleveland show.
I can't wait.
That right there is kind of what this podcast is like the premise of this podcast is that if it, like at some point it's going to be Bengals and Browns kind of running this division because
it's going to be next year.
Actually, to get back to the intro that I was about to finish. Which, by the way, this has both been a very good and very bad intro so far. So
this has been a great intro. I don't care what you say. This has been our best intro. This is our best.
It's been great. It's just been very disjointed. But anyway,
we got to talk about these.
Of the Steelers collapsing as a powerhouse kind of franchise, we're going to wrap this show up with a discussion about the state of the AFC North like we do every episode. But in particular, we're going to laugh at the state of the Steelers offensive line. Because why, Thomas?
Because the Steelers still suck. I already said it.
Steelers still suck.
I can say it twice today. We got an extra guest. I got to say it twice.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
The Steelers have sucked since like a couple years before we started this podcast, and nobody wants to admit it. Like the second that whole 2018 season went down, it was like the beginning of the end.
Man, the Steelers suck since the 70s. They were just good in the 70s, but they suck though.
I mean, let's be real. The Steelers suck even when they're winning.
Well, I mean, I hate the Steelers when they're winning, but I mean, I'm going to be honest here. Like, you know, I can't say the Steelers have sucked since the 70s, since they've been in, 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them.
You know the problem is with Pittsburgh. Is people
their
in
fans.
Pittsburgh.
Well, they've been in 4 Super Bowls, sorry.
People in Pittsburgh walk around like Pittsburgh's New York. Yeah, I said it. Y'all walk around like it's New York.
That's not necessarily true. Most people that are from Pittsburgh don't want to be in Pittsburgh. They hate their own city. Like,
I believe it.
The worst part about the Steelers is their fan base.
Yeah, exactly.
Historically, the most uneducated fan base. Typically, they don't even know their own players. They can't name anybody outside of the 3 big guys. All they want to talk about is 6 rings. Say some crazy stuff's a catch when it's not a catch. Like, the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base is the worst. Like, let's just be real.
Already the best guest we've ever had.
I'm sorry. I choked on my food when he said the most uneducated fan base.
It's a fact, though. I mean, like, okay, I'm a Bengals fan. Like, every year, I get my hopes up to get them dashed, but I'll still tell you when the Bengals suck. Like,
I'm really trying to think of a fan base less educated than the Steelers fan base. I'm having a real hard time here.
Well, there's the Cowboys, but I don't know if they're less educated, but they're up there.
Well, like, I mean, the Cowboys, though, they had their moment to build that. I mean, we've never really won anything, and we're Cincy fans, so
but
you can't hate on Dallas fans.
I'm thinking about all of sports, though, not just freaking football.
Somebody prove me wrong. Like, most of the most heated sports arguments, just because of the most like dumbest fan base, is typically Steelers.
I would say Bama, but Bama fans are so intelligent. Like, I never met a dumb Bama fan. It's so weird.
I'm not a college football guy, but their fan base. I'm not going to clown on any NCAA fan base because they know their stuff. I'm not an NCAA guy, but
I will admit, though,
fans know what's up.
I haven't had too many, like not all conversations I've had with Steelers fans have been bad ones, but all of the dumbest ones have definitely been with Steelers fans.
True.
Who's the dumbest fan base in sports? Comment below.
Absolutely.
I'm really
Prove me
hard
right.
time
Give
here.
us the Steelers. Let's go. Comment down below.
All right, so Thomas, why don't you tell me what you're drinking today?
Today, I'm going straight for the head. I'm drinking some Kettle One vodka.
Oh, we got straight up vodka.
Respect.
Some good vodka too, man. This is the stuff.
That's the stuff you got to bring with you when you're talking to a Steelers fan.
Oh yeah, man. You know, you just
You need something
Like
blunt to
they're
hit
so
them with afterwards. After they make your rage break out of sheer stupidity alone.
oh,
What about
my god.
what about you, Brad? What are you drinking?
Yingling. Good old American lager.
It's good stuff.
Clipper fans are pretty dumb.
I'm drinking Hofbrau.
They're pretty dumb. They're pretty dumb.
Yeah, they're pretty.
But
dumb.
like,
I've never talked.
think about the average Pittsburgh fan, and it's just, I swear, I legit argued with a kid last year about the Pittsburgh, and he brought up Martavius Bryant as if he was on the active roster.
Golden State Warrior fans are stupid.
See, though, I'm a Golden State fan because I'm a Kerr fan, and then I became a Curry fan.
Don't tell me that. We gotta get a new guest.
Hey, Kerr was part of the GOAT Bulls team. I can't
like
hold
Kerr.
it against him.
I like Kerr, but I don't like Curry.
Oh, Curry's got the purest stroke in all of basketball.
Oh, he's a beautiful player. He's amazing. I don't like him.
I get how you feel. That's how I am towards Bron. I can't stand him.
Hey, look, you know, you some people are LeBron, some people are Steph Curry. We don't pick it. We don't pick the people we fall. We don't pick the athletes we fall in love with. We just fall in love with them.
I sort of did. I picked Kevin Durant just because he was on the Sonics.
Though, to me, any modern era player, though, they kind of have a negative asterisk towards them, speaking about basketball, just because Jordan and Kobe's eras, they got called for double dribbles. They got called for carries. Mm-hmm. They got called for a lot of stuff that's not called today. And, I mean, you look at the NBA now, especially in the Brown area, people don't play defense as much. There's less games. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's not the same game anymore.
Yeah. I don't think it's not that people don't play defense. I think people are just more skilled now. But anyway, Kyle, what are you doing?
Anyway, I think let's go ahead and get back to the present day.
I'll blame him, man. He got me sidetracked.
Hey, man, look, I do that to you. I do that to you. I stopped talking. I stopped talking.
I think
eat my chicken and noodles.
I think we're gonna start off here with talking about the Bengals.
Well, what are you drinking?
14 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody's like Super Bowl champion Buccanears, but it's preseason, so I literally don't give a shit about that. But
I mean,
I also don't really care.
You gotta take it with a grain of salt.
But Brad, what's your biggest takeaway from the Bengals win? Like, you know, just like a player who you thought, you know, maybe elevated their role or something like that.
I'm really negative on Pirine anyway. I don't really think he brings anything to the table. So I'm super hyped on the younger running backs that we got. Chris Evans was a monster. Jacquez Patrick was a monster. I loved what I was getting to see off the edge rushers in particular. Camp Sample was in the backfield a few times. Osai until he messed up his wrist. Yeah. So, like, honestly, I know it's the preseason and you got to take everything with a grain of salt, but the Bengals almost played a perfect game outside of Sherbert because that kid is garbage.
Who?
Sherbert.
Oh yeah,
our third stringer. Yeah.
I'm less proud of that fellow council member. Kylo Lena is clearly the superior Kyle.
Yes.
I think the linebackers played pretty well. You know, we stuffed the run, but we didn't get gouged on anything. We were tough on third downs, so it was a good game overall. And like I said, the rookie running back core is what shined through for me.
Yeah. So I got two thoughts about what you said. First of all, Joseph Osai, for anybody who hasn't heard so far, sounds like he did suffer a bit of a. I'm actually not 100% sure what it was, but it was some sort of wrist fracture type thing. So he's probably going to be out for the next couple weeks. But it does sound like he's expected to make it back for week 1 of the regular season, which is really all that matters. I say
Sounds
even
about
if
right.
he can make it back for like one of the next 2 preseason games, don't play him anyway, because he is clearly a stud. He's clearly a star. So just, like wrap him in bubble wrap for the rest of the preseason. Then, you can't like protect football players from injury like all the time, but at least wait till the regular season. At least wait till the games count. Because that kid showed something special. Like I haven't seen somebody flying around the backfield like that for the Bengals since, maybe like prime Carlos Dunlap. Because as much as like Carl Lawson was, getting in the backfield and doing really good, he never really quite finished like that. So
I'm not gonna lie, like I was very torn with the Bengals. Like there was a part of me that wanted to burn some of my merch after we lost Lawson, but I've become a big fan in Osai, and I feel like there's way more upside and way more potential. The kid's just got a higher motor than me.
That's the thing, and I think Osai fits better with Trey Hendrickson than Carl Lawson would have.
Oh yeah.
Not to mention, you would have spent all of your extra available money, and you had to upgrade the pass rush. So you bringing Carl Lawson back doesn't exactly upgrade the pass rush. So I kind of see what they were thinking there, and it's like with a lot of the problem with Carl Lawson is just like you've proven that you're a really good player, but you haven't really proven that you're like deserving of that top money, because you haven't he can do so many things, but he just has not shown the ability to consistently finish, which is I think the biggest thing with him. But the other point you were making was about the non-Joe Mixon running backs, and I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from this is Samaje Perine's time seems to be very limited right now, because he didn't have the worst game I've ever seen, but he had a pretty not so great game. I think I think the Bengals first team offense and defense looked really, really good against the Buccaneers. And like you said, it would have been almost perfect if Perine hadn't just fumbled at the very end of their first drive in the red zone. And then that happens with Perine. He doesn't.
Patrick had the fumble too.
Yeah, but the difference is Perine never really completely got it going after that. And then you have Chris Evans come in here, and while Chris Evans isn't exactly Superman or anything like that, he did put up 27 yards after contact. He did catch 4 passes for 33 yards, and he graded a 77.8 as a pass blocker with PFF grades. So, Chris Evans, I think, is the clear, obvious number 2 right now, unless something crazy changes. And then you had Jaquez Patrick go out there, and he put up nearly 100 yards. Well, not nearly 100. It was 77 yards on the day, 58 of which were after contact. And so just it's looking like right now Samaje Perine, even though everybody was kind of assuming he'd have some sort of role on this roster, it's like right now he looks like maybe the 4th best running back, and that's not going to cut it.
Yeah. For me, and nothing against Perine, he wasn't a wow factor when he was signed. Nobody really cared. You didn't ever expect him to become a weapon. I just feel like it's cap space we don't need to spend right now. I get having a veteran guy, but I know Puka's more of a wide receiver anyway.
Yeah.
So he probably, if he makes the roster, he's going to be special teams or used on passing plays randomly.
Yeah.
If I was the Bengals, they've got a lot of tough decisions, especially on the defensive end of the ball, especially on the edge rushers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in the running back room, I know it's only 1 week, but I'd make that clear-cut decision. I'd go Mixon, Evans, Patrick, and Puka.
Just kind of leave it at that, right? And I kind of like to see I kind of like to see was it Travion Williams? That's the other running back name. I'd like to see him get a chance at this point because I think he could do better than what Samaje Perine showed in the first game.
He had some great tape in college. I was actually stoked when we he wasn't drafted, was he? He was
I think we
picked up and he was on signed free agent. So yeah. I always hoped that he would get that opportunity in that, but he never really did anything when he has had the chances. But I would like to see him get some playing time, maybe in game 2, just to see if there's any value for that kid going forward.
Yeah. Actually, to correct what I said earlier, he was a 6th round draft pick.
6th round. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was late or whatnot, but
I mean, it was definitely later. He was definitely a low priority kind of rookie.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there's a little bit of potential with him that I think I'd at least like to see what he can do versus. I don't think he's going to battle Chris Evans for the job, but maybe he could show something over Jacques Patrick. I don't know. I'm not even saying he will. I just want to see what he can do.
Plus, he's got that chip on his shoulder, so. Yeah,
right. Moving on, though, the offensive line is the thing that I think everybody is really focusing on. And, I mean, we saw some good. I think I'm not sure Gunnar Vogel is an NFL player because he was really bad. He was really bad. 62 out there. He was constantly getting beat. A lot of people criticized Jackson Carmen because, he didn't he had that holding penalty on his first play. And then he didn't absolutely take over the game or anything like that. He definitely got outplayed by some other guys, particularly Deontay Smith, by the way, which,
Smith, that kid's a stud.
Yeah. I'm bringing him up later, but Jackson Carmen in particular, I don't think all the criticism is quite warranted. The 2nd round pick got outplayed by the 4th round pick who made a position change, but don't forget Jackson Carmen is also making a position change. He played left tackle in college. From what I saw, I thought he looked pretty good as a pass blocker outside of that early holding penalty. And I think that early holding penalty kind of soured people's opinions right away. So it was really hard for people to kind of get out of the idea that he wasn't any good. And also after all, the training camp where he's running with the 3s and the 2s and stuff like that. So, he wasn't perfect, but he didn't get beat a whole lot. And he definitely looked like he belonged as a pass rusher. I feel there's some work to do in the running game, but I think he's making some progress, and we knew he was going to be a project.
Oh, yeah. For me, though, based off of what I could see in the preseason, what I've seen in training camp, if you're Joe Burrow, would you rather have Carmen in there or would you rather have Billy Price or scrub like Xavier Su'a-Filo?
Well, definitely not Billy Price. Billy Price looked awful in that game.
Yes, he did. Billy we just need to move on from Price the same way we moved on from Ross. It was just a bad pick. It was a waste of time.
I feel about the same way about Billy Price that I felt about John Ross. It's that's
what I'm saying.
It's those were Marvin picks. Yes, they were 1st round picks, but they were Marvin picks. So it's I feel like the current regime can just admit they were bad picks. Now Billy Price is really excited about Frank Pollock, but that doesn't. It's like when Joe Mixon was excited about Frank Pollock. It's I'm listening to that guy because Joe Mixon's really good. And maybe, he could, continue to be really good with Frank Pollock. But then Billy Price got really excited. And I'm like, who are you, dude?
Yeah. For me, Carmen gets a lot of flack solely because of the Sewell Chase war. You know what I mean? The people that wanted Sewell, hand over fist, they're always going to hate Jackson Carmen, no matter what he does, no matter if he ends up becoming a Pro Bowl guard or tackle, whatever he ends up developing to be. I don't think he necessarily has that potential, but it's early. We don't know. You know what I mean? A lot of people thought Tebow was going to be great.
I feel like Jackson Carmen could be a guy kind of like Kevin Zeitler, who maybe isn't a consistent Pro Bowl or anything like that, can at least, if he can develop into what we think he can maybe be, he's the kind of guy I think who you can. Like hopefully you get him to the point where you can put him in there and you just don't have to worry about him, whether or not he's making big plays or anything like that. That's all I want out of him, is just be a solid piece.
Oh yeah.
That was part of why I didn't necessarily want us to draft Penei Sewell, was because I was like, a really great, amazing offensive lineman sounds great, but we don't really need that. We just need somebody to get in there and not screw it up.
Yeah. Well, I understood both sides from the entirety. Me personally, just after seeing Burrow go down and understanding the fact that if that kid stays healthy, he stays up, we're going to win games.
Yeah.
So I bought into the Sewell, but I was going to be happy either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, Carmen has every bit of a potential to become a Zeitler.
Mm.
And Zeitler wasn't even that flashy of a player when he was in Cincinnati, outside of Cincinnati. But Bengals fans, we love that guy. He might as well be in the conversation with the greatest lineman we've ever had.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Oh shit. Hey, real quick note, Thomas, you can edit this out later. But just so you guys know, I forgot about this, but Zoom does this thing where they give you 40 minutes of time in a 3-person meeting, and once the 40 minutes is up, it'll end the meeting unless you pay for some extra sort of subscription service. So the meeting's probably going to run out, and then when it does, the meeting will end. I'll start a new meeting, and I'll send you guys links and everything like that, and we'll just edit these pieces together. So
word.
So just if that happens, just know I'll send you a new link here in a second.
All right, cool.
But anyway, Brad, you were saying.
We need to give Carmen time to develop, and I kind of get the Carmen haters fans reaction.
Yeah,
because honestly, we don't know how well Chase is going to do once we're live game day. You know what I mean? We know that he's got a relationship with Burrow. We know he was a stud 2 years ago. We just don't know if he's going to progress. And a lot of Cincinnati fans have that bad taste in their mouth from John Ross. The same way a lot of Cincinnati fans that were against signing Sewell have a bad taste in their mouth about all the bad linemen we've got early on. So Bengals fans like to overreact. Look at training camp. The way that we've kind of given a lot of power to the Burrow struggling stuff. That's typical training camp. Typically the defense is miles ahead of the offense. The guy's back from a ACL injury that most quarterbacks wouldn't be back until what was the original expectation? Week 11. You know what I mean? So we just got to give it time to develop.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. But I mean, he impressed me. Deontay Smith really impressed me.
Yeah, that's true. Especially, like I said, with just kind of randomly, he's just oh, I'm a guard now. And apparently, hey, look, I might be better at guard than I, was at tackle. Because I mean, he's out there holding his own against NFL level players, and he's clearly proving that he. You know what actually is really interesting about Deontay Smith, because I was convinced he was one of those guys you pick up in the 7th round before the draft started, and then the Bengals took him in the 4th round, and I was like, that seems really early to me. But then everybody else started saying oh no, that's about it's everybody really liked Deontay Smith, and that's about when he was going to go. And I'm like, where was this information? I never heard anything about Deontay Smith going in the 4th round. What? But apparently that was just the thing. And it seems like now it's okay, well, you can kind of see where people are coming from here, because, he's definitely got some potential. He just needed somebody out there to unlock it. Luckily, we got Frank Pollock.
Yeah. Frank Pollock being in that room is a big change. And I mean, again, I know it's the 3rd stringers, but if they were playing that well, I can only hope to wait to see what the starting line does.
Right.
And if they play half as good as that third string line, we're gonna have some good games. We're gonna have some firework. Joe Mixon runs. We're gonna have that set up passes. It's gonna be a good year to be a Bengals fan. If this was an inclination of what the season could be.
Yeah. And I think if that offensive line can get itself together and Joseph Osai really, starts lending and Trey Hendrickson, they start really lending that pass rush, it's like those are the two things really holding us back. And if we can get those two things together, then the Bengals at the very least are going to be fun.
Yeah.
Really yeah. But anyway, my last takeaway that I wanted to talk about with the Bengals game was I know he was only in for like a handful of snaps or whatever, but I thought Jamar Chase with that what was it like a drive pattern that he had?
The slant.
Yeah, the slant.
Is that what you're talking about?
Was it a slant?
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought it was a drive. But
I can't remember, but I know what play you're talking about.
Got behind some blockers and really kind of made it work. It looked like what you would do with a screen, but it wasn't a screen. But anyway, Jamar Chase, showed at the very least that he does have talent. He was worth taking in the first round. He does. A lot of people were worried because he was kind of struggling a little bit in camp. Which, by the way, from what I heard from the last practice that happened right before we recorded this podcast, apparently him and Burrow connected for 3 touchdowns. So it sounds like Jamar Chase is starting to come together. And I'm really not trying to drag up the Sewell versus Chase debate, but just saying, if Jamar Chase works out and we do have a decent offensive line, why did we need Sewell? I know everybody's thinking Anthony Munoz, but he's not necessarily Anthony Munoz.
You get one play from Jamar Chase.
Do what?
You get one play from Jamar Chase, man. I mean, it was a nice play. But you know what I mean? Like he tripped, man. Like he tripped. He had a touchdown. He had a touchdown right there.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because he also had a really good practice afterwards. And the main issue is that a lot of people have been trashing him and saying it wasn't a good pick because look, he's been struggling lately. But the point I'm trying to make was it was a fine pick. I'm not saying Jamar Chase is going to be the next Hall of Fame wide receiver or anything like that. Yes. It does seem that we made a good pick.
Go ahead, bro.
And any Cincinnati fan that thinks that Jamar Chase is not a good pick is as dumb as Steelers fans.
Facts. Jamar Chase was a great pick. So, all right. You can question that pick. You can. But a lot of people make the wrong argument. My biggest concern from day one was the fact that on any given team, Tyler Boyd could be a number 1, most of them a number 2. T. Higgins, same boat, only he could be a number 1 on most teams as opposed to a number 2. At some point, we're going to have to pay these men, and I don't want to lose any of them. And that was my biggest concern. So if you want to argue it that way, I can get you. But picking Jamar Chase was not a bad idea in any stretch of the imagination unless you're talking financial and keeping that core. Because, I don't want to lose T. Higgins at any point because we can't facilitate him and Jamar Chase at the same time. That's something I don't want to see. But
hopefully we're not. It is going to be a little nice because at least it's going to be staggered a little bit. So when you're paying T. Higgins, you still got especially because Chase was a first-round pick, you still got maybe 2 more years before you got to pay Jamar Chase. You already paid Tyler Boyd, I don't think we're going to have another situation like we had with Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones, but I do get that concern because
that's what I'm saying. Overall, though, our only concern at this point, paying wise, is Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
And then just one last thing on my takeaway from the preseason. and I want to disagree with a friend and a buddy of mine, James Rapine. He had to take, McPherson and Siebert. I never know how to pronounce his name, but he had to take that Siebert could be worth trade value after the preseason's over with. There's no trade value for that kid. Nobody wanted him. There's too many.
Now they want him.
Maybe I'll be roasting
my thing is
hilarious.
Just sign McPherson. Let's not repeat Jake Elliott. The kid's not bad. Those kicks that he had could have been good from 59, 60 yards.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what would be
just
hilarious?
Sign the kid.
If because the Browns right now still got Cody Parkey as their best option. Sorry, Thomas, about to talk a little smack here, but Browns right now got Cody Parkey as their best option. And then you got that little bit of like kind of battle going on with Chase McLaughlin. Well, hey, maybe the Browns need an upgrade at kicker at the end of this, and Austin Siebert's out here doing awesome stuff. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we traded Austin Siebert back to the Browns?
You'd be surprised. I might see it happen. I mean, like, First of all, as I finished eating my mama's chicken noodles, Mama, thank you. Thank you, Mama, for the chicken noodles. Anyway, as I finished those chicken and noodles, let me just say this: the Browns have a kicker problem, and I swear to freaking God. If I miss a Super Bowl because of our freaking kicker, like 22 years of losing and misery just to miss out because of the kicker. I mean, we got backup offensive linemen that the Bengals would pay millions of dollars for. We have a deep wide receiver core. We have two of the best running backs in the league. And we lose in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs because of our kicker. I'm going to be pissed. Cody Parker.
Welcome to Cincinnati's world over what, like the past 15 years?
Something like that.
Cody Parkey, I love you. I don't know you, but I love you. But you suck, dude.
Hey, man. You leave Parkey alone. It could be worse. You could end up with Randy Bullock.
I don't care who's worse. I just care who is better.
Y'all can get Siebert back.
I take Siebert because he is better.
Hey, man, I'm just saying Cody Parkey hit both of his field goals against the Jaguars.
Yeah, but one doink so loud they heard it in Neptune.
Hey, every kicker misses, man. Every kicker misses, man.
Although not Evan McPherson, apparently.
Hey, the kid's not bad so far.
He better clean it up. He better clean it up.
I was going to ask you, Brad, are you satisfied with Evan McPherson, or are you still wanting? I know you messaged me a little while ago. You were telling me to check out these highlights of this guy Donald Delahaye. Was that his name?
Delahaye. Yeah, destroying videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess he got kicked out of college for just making videos or whatever, which is ridiculous. But if you watch these videos, man, this kid is something special. But my question to you is, are you satisfied with McPherson, or you still want us to go pick up Donald Delahaye?
Oh, I think any team in the league would be smart to pick up Delahaye. Like if you check out the kid's film, it's ridiculous. A lot of it's without pads, but he consistently knocks 60 to 70 yard field goals and punts all the time. I'm not satisfied because, I mean, like we were talking about, it's Cincinnati. Our kickers have always sucked. They've probably been the worst kickers in the NFL every single fucking year. Look at Randy Bullock. How many games did he lose us with gimme field goals?
Do you remember when we drafted Theo Rackers?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and then he was horrible. He was like one of the worst kickers of all time in Cincinnati. Goes over to Arizona and becomes a fucking legend.
And then later on, we get Shane Graham, and then he was garbage. And then what do? We franchise tag him instead of franchise tagging in the same year Michael Johnson in his prime and Anthony Collins, I think. So, like, I'm never really going to be satisfied. I honestly believe we probably could have gotten McPherson undrafted.
I don't know.
So then again,
but I do believe we could have gotten him in the 6th round though. At the very least.
Getting him in the 5th put a bad taste in my mouth because I remember what happened with Jake Elliott in the 5th.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you would ever look at tape and go, hey, yeah, Randy Bullock's way better than him. Let's go with him. But I'm not satisfied, but I think any team would be smart to sign Donald just because he has such a huge YouTube following and fan base since his career at UCF. So anybody that signs him, they're going to get that little bit of extra buzz towards him. And having a guy like Justin Tucker or a guy like Steven Gostkowski is something that most teams take for granted and look past completely. And it needs to change because, I mean, you got a solid guy that can bomb it from, the 50-yard mark, which that's a hard kick to make. You got a guy that can hit it from that far or within 5 yards of that. Like it's a no-brainer and it's a game changer.
I will say sometimes these guys go through like hot and cold streaks because
True.
I remember Steven Gostkowski, for example, has been terrible in Tennessee so far. As Stephen Houska is another guy I remember. He kind of pulled the opposite. He basically got kicked out of Baltimore. They never wanted him to return ever. He went to Seattle and he became, probably the best kicker in the league there for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to a certain age, not every kicker can turn it around. To me, the best kicker we've ever seen is Gostkowski. But, Vinatieri, he went through a couple years to where he kind of bounced around and then had a couple years where it was good. So I don't think I'll ever be satisfied, but right now I'm really big on McPherson. I like that kid a lot.
I think he's good. One last topic, Bengals topic I wanted to bring up, and then we're going to move on to the Browns. And then, Thomas, you can do a lot more talking because you actually, I caught the highlights. I looked at the box score, but I didn't catch the game because I was obviously focused on the Bengals at the time. But Brad, I know you wanted to bring up. You had some thoughts on the Bengals' new ruler of the jungle thing. So can you explain to us a little bit about what that is and why you don't like it?
I just think it's corny. It's a waste of money. We hired this lady to do marketing, and her big idea to get fans excited is to set up a throne, and either a celebrity or a fan will get to sit on said throne and lead everybody in a "Who Dey" chant. It's just that's not the market you're in. That's not really Cincinnati people in general. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's a little kid, cool. I get it, fine. But paying a celebrity to come in and to do all that, it takes away funds from the team inevitably. And when you got a guy like Jesse Bates, who you can't let get away, any expenditure that you make outside of signing someone like that is not only ridiculous, it's irresponsible.
Y'all gotta have Olivia Rodrigo. I was gonna say y'all gotta have Olivia Rodrigo leading the "Who Dey" chant. She'd be like, "Who Dey?" They're like, "Who Dey?" Like, good for you.
A, I don't know who that is, and B, it could be horrible. What if they have Justin Bieber do it? I'm gonna have to turn the game off on Sunday, and that's all I look forward to every week.
Somebody out there got that joke.
Somebody
got my joke.
But
my joke, and it's just dying right now. Somebody got my joke. It just died.
I might just be that typical '90s kid, and like I think everything's stupid because I'm older. But like, it seems pointless. We're gonna say Who Dey anyway. The Bengals fans drink more than anybody. We're gonna get screwed up,
which is ridiculous because our beer prices are insanely high. Like I think last time
which is also ridiculous because I saw a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, you guys had that reporter who listed every team ranked with the tailgating. How is the team who drinks the most with the highest beer prices last? How?
Hey man, look, we already talked about that.
I just had to throw that in there.
We had a whole like.
Oh yeah, no, I know everything. Like, I watched and I yelled at the screen the entire time.
That episode. Man, I was pretty mad. I was pretty mad. Yeah, I was pretty mad about that article too.
But what do you guys think about the ruler of the jungle?
Well, okay, so my thought process is, I don't think it's. Well, first of all, they're not in it. Like they have money set aside for what they're going to pay Jesse Bates, and they're not taking money from like marketing campaigns to pay the players with. The Bengals, the Brown family, they might act like it, but they're not actually tight on funds. You know, they have the money to do this stuff. They're like the ruler of the jungle thing is not interfering with Jesse Bates. It's just not happening.
I could see in Mike Brown's head it is though.
I mean, okay, that might be fair. That might be fair. But at the same time, I don't know. They tend to prioritize bringing back their own guys who they feel are doing really well, and I feel like there's a lot of posture. I feel like it's more posturing right now than it is they're trying to pay a celebrity to come do a Who Dey chant. By the way, I want to ask real quick. So you first of all, you were asking me my thoughts on the rule of the jungle thing. I have basically none. I think maybe it's kind of a cool thing, but I also kind of like the way they do it at the stadium now, where they do like the billboard with kind of like just like the Who Dey. Like I kind of like that too. So I mean, they bring in like a celebrity on a throne. That's fine. Maybe they start like having like Bengals fans do it, and they have like viral Bengals fans. Maybe one day this podcast will get big enough, and then I get to go do it. And then I'm going to have a very positive opinion about it.
Well, obviously. You look at you politician.
I think it's all about execution. Honestly, like I mean, it might be a cool little thing. I mean, like from Browns fan, like I tell you one thing though about it is being a Browns fan who came to the Bengals stadium, who came to the jungle. Like Bengals fans are very laid back people. Like it just be, I don't know, like you said, like getting the vibe of the stadium and how people are. It just seems weird because like Bengals fans are just such laid back, just mild mannered people. Like they're just very laid back people. They like to get drunk, like you said, but it's just like they're just like football.
Like if there's a fight at a Bengals stadium, it's probably two Bengals fans, if anything. I was sitting there talking shit and everything, and the Bengals fans was just like, yeah, this guy. And they just sitting there laughing because the game was a good game. They were just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Your best receiver just got hurt. Like, what are you talking smack about?
I mean, it's hard to it's hard to fight back for a team that constantly hurts you. So
y'all so chill, like y'all just so chill though. Like y'all just like y'all are like, yeah, we hate y'all, but whatever.
Well, I mean, you can't take it all that seriously, because if you did, you'd probably slit your wrist every time the Bengals end the season. Like
that's true.
Oh, Steelers fans taking that seriously.
I will say one thing though. Come to a Bengals Steelers game sometime, and then you might reform your idea a little bit about the laid back nature, because there's a rivalry with the Browns, but I wouldn't say that we really hate the Browns, like it's more of like a almost like a friendly rivalry kind of thing where like, like, yeah, fuck your team kind of thing. But like with the Steelers, it's like, we hate you.
But even still, though, you go to the Bengals and seeing people with AI jerseys and stuff.
That's true. I've noticed that. Maybe not AI, but yeah, I've noticed stuff like that before.
I love it. I love your atmosphere. I love it.
Honestly, as somebody born and raised in Cincinnati, been a Bengals fan my entire life, the hatred between us and Cleveland is more just about Cincinnati and Cleveland as cities and living within Ohio.
Yeah, it's about
it's like a sibling.
It's not about the teams whatsoever. But when it comes to Pittsburgh, probably the dirtiest team in football, arguably, historically.
Accurate.
So they're hated for that, and they're hated for their fans. And that's what makes it so contentious during a Bengals-Steelers game. That, and typically there's a lot of bad calls during those games too. So it's a giant powder keg of stuff. But like, yeah, there's no comparing Cincy versus Pittsburgh and Cincy versus Cleveland. It's a different atmosphere altogether.
Yeah, because one thing that Cleveland and Cincinnati could agree on, Columbus still sucks. I mean, Pittsburgh still sucks.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Columbus is stupid, and Akron might as well not exist.
I don't have too much of a problem with Columbus. I hate Ohio State, but I don't have too much of a problem with Columbus. Like, they got a couple good burger joints, but I mean, it's honestly, it's a boring ass city. I don't even have I used to go up there because I was a fan of the Columbus Crew, but then Cincinnati got their own MLS team, and I'm not going to not be a Cincinnati fan. Like, I mean, come on.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. This is a good episode. All right.
Yeah. All right. So we should probably go ahead and move on to the Browns, though, because we've been talking about the Bengals long enough. I mean, well, not for my taste, but, this is a Bengals-Browns podcast after all. So, so the Browns, just like the Bengals, the Browns won. Browns won by a little bit more against the Jaguars. They won 23-13. And like I said, I didn't watch the live showing of it, but I did kind of catch up with it after the fact. And it looks like the Browns, I mean, they won, but there was definitely some ups and downs to it. It's like, it definitely didn't really quite have so much of that feeling of being consistently energized about what you're seeing from this team. What do you think, Thomas? Why don't you walk us through what you saw from the game?
Look, man, I mean, on the low, you gotta realize that, first of all, they set just about every single one of their starters, with the exception of Donovan Peoples-Jones for the most part, and a couple of rookies on defense. So,
is Donovan Peoples-Jones even a starter though?
He's a third.
In my notes, what I wrote down was every single starter did not play except for Andy.
He's fighting for third. He's fighting for third or fourth string receivers, so he's either him or Higgins for third string. But honestly, I think Donovan Jones. Honestly, on the low, I'm about to be real with you. Actually, I kind of want to talk about this. Donovan Jones for me is probably he's improving a lot. He's looking real good. The coaches are raving about him. He looked really good, and it's going to be easier to let Rashard Higgins walk this offseason, knowing that you have Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I think Peoples-Jones is better. But I think that the thing that really popped off, the player that really popped off on the screen for the Browns was JOK. That kid, I'm really excited about that kid. That kid was everywhere. That kid was everywhere. He was everywhere fast.
He was
that kid.
That's what we were saying about Joseph Osai. That's the kind of impact that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah had. It was insane, man. 3 tackles for loss, a sack, quarterback hit.
There's Tim Tebow. That guy, man. I'm really excited about that guy because he's gonna really give us layers to our defense. He's just so much fun to watch, and he's just like a little bullet. That's all he is. He's like a bullet, but he's a cannonball at the same time. He's a bullet ball. He's a bullet cannon.
Yeah,
he's a cannon bullet.
He is something else. I was frustrated as hell when the Browns picked him up in the second round. I'm like, really? Really?
But no, I mean, but honestly, like I think the Browns just played a really clean game. I think that there was not a lot of penalties in that game. So they only had 3 penalties that game. So they played a very clean game, which I liked a lot. And like you said, another player that popped out was Kylo Lena, going 19-27 with 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. I know it's preseason, but he looked good. Like he was spreading them. He wasn't locked into one receiver. He wasn't locked into one guy. He was spreading the ball around the field. He made sure so many people touched the ball, and he executed Kevin Stefanski's offense well, which means that we're going to have a really good player for our backup quarterback position. I really hope the Browns decide to keep him. I really hope the Browns decide to keep him as a third string quarterback. Like I like a lot of that. Yeah.
No. Y'all need to make him your second stringer. Case Keenum has never been and this is my opinion. I don't think he's ever been worth being a starter, let alone a backup in the league.
Yeah.
And it showed in that game. Lalueta, that kid, I like him more than I like Mayfield. And to be honest, I don't like Mayfield at all. I think the problems that he's had with having stars on the field and not being able to utilize them, he's been too inconsistent for me, Mayfield. I really became a fan of Luetta last night, and I looked into a lot of his college tape and stuff. That kid could be something in a couple years. Honestly, he about played a damn near perfect game.
Yeah, so I'm not going to sit here and say that Luetta is better than Mayfield because of one preseason game.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me, as a non-Browns fan, I like him more. And
I do
Baker's
like him
got some cause
than,
for concern.
I like him more than Case Keenum. I'll tell you that for sure.
Facts.
I will say that. And you know what? I would really be thinking about the fact that Case Keenum's the highest paid backup in the league. And you got a lot of stars on this team, and you got a lot of people you got to pay. Just saying.
I'd cut him.
I've been thinking the same thing. Really,
I'm thinking the same thing. Like and like Case Keenum, like you would cut Case Keenum. You would cut him. He's gonna find a job. It's not like Case Keenum can't find a job. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think
honestly, my biggest takeaways from the Browns game was Tebow shouldn't be in the league anymore, and.
Those kind of
honestly, y'all's defense played really good, really, really good. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence after that preseason outing. He didn't look comfortable. He was inaccurate. He was not comfortable at all being out there, and he struggled against your second and third stringers. If he's struggling like that hard this early, I'd hate to see what he does against the number one defense.
I don't even think. What I was gonna say. I was thinking in my head while watching that game was the Browns look like a professional football team that's out here just practicing.
Yeah.
They're just out there practicing. The Jaguars look like they have no idea what the hell they're doing at all. They look like they got 10 different things going on. Urban Meyer. Great.
Urban Meyer, he can do it at the collegiate level. He cannot do it at this level, and him just signing Tebow proved it. I really think that team's going to be really bad this year. I don't see it working.
It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I'm going to say this to Jacksonville. I'm going to say it now. What was your thinking when you hired Urban Meyer? Like, there are so many other people you could have went with. You had the number one pick in the draft, and you go with Urban Meyer. That's who we all go with, really?
I think what the Jaguars were thinking was literally nothing else has worked. So, I mean, just throw your hands up at this point and just go with something that seems like, just a shot in the dark.
To make an NBA reference. Oh, my bad, bro. Go ahead.
I'm done. Go ahead, make the NBA reference.
To make an NBA reference, this is how I view Trevor Lawrence's career. Carmelo Anthony. Show flashes, but overall, you look at the longevity of the career, borderline mediocre.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is not going to save that team. If Trevor Lawrence is smart, he'll get his agent on the phone, bro. Get me out of here. Get me with a stack line. Come on. I know you can get me to New England.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine.
I'm not saying he's a bad player.
As a coach, he's going to be horrible. I'm
not saying he's a bad player. I just don't think he's prepared. He's going to take some time to be that guy, and he doesn't have somebody to learn from. He's not a starter day one to me. That was my biggest takeaway.
He's going to have a Tim Couch season. Watch. He's going to have a Tim Couch. He's going to have a horrible. His rookie season is going to be hell. His rookie season is going to be hell because you have a coach that hasn't coached in 3 years, let alone never coached in the never coached in the college game and pro game. So he's learned on the spot. He's trying to come out with this new revolutionary system that he may or may not know how it's going to work. He's bringing all these football ideas in. Being a Browns fan, I know this. I've seen this so many times. You got a bunch of people with a bunch of different ideas, but you don't have one main idea. It's great that you have so many different influences. You have so many different thoughts, so many different people weighing their opinion in there, but you don't have one main idea. So what are we doing here? So Tim Tebow, were you there to try for the team? Was he there to help Trevor Lawrence develop? Because if you're trying to bring in Tim Tebow to help Trevor Lawrence develop, then why is he on the field? Why isn't he just coaching on the sidelines? Because you can do that. It's not that hard. Because now you're going to get mixed signals. Now Trevor Lawrence going to get mixed signals. Because Tim Tebow is trying to learn how to play a position that he never played in his life, and he was like a babbling fool out there. And he's also trying to show Trevor Lawrence how to play football. And Trevor Lawrence is going to listen to him. What did Tim Tebow do as a quarterback in the NFL? Beat the Steelers in the first round? Baker Mayfield did that last year, and people are still saying that he's not a quarterback.
I would have loved to see Garrett go up against Tebow. I wish Garrett would have been on the field during that play because he would have
lit him up,
obliterated him. Like Shannon Sharp said, he would have pushed him into the running back.
Lit him up. It would have been no more Tim. Tim Tebow was retired on his spot. He would have got off the field, looked at the camera, go like, "Hey, Peyton Manning. Hey, Peyton Manning. Look, I know you're doing a broadcast here. I want to just make my retirement speech right now. I want to thank everybody for bringing me back. I want to thank all the Florida fans, Go Gators, for supporting me. But I am retiring right here on the spot. Myles Garrett lit my ass up. It's time for me to go home, y'all. I'm done.
From y'all's game though, I think Johnson, he looked like his old self to me out of the backfield.
Funny, what the one thing that's crazy about Deontay Johnson is that he's third string running back behind Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, which is so exciting that you have that extra layer of running back just to kind of take, you can never have too many running backs because they take such a beating on their body. And I think at this point, I don't think Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb are worried about stats. I think they're just worried about winning because they know they're the shit. Yeah. So you bring in somebody like Deontay Johnson to give them breathers, they're just gonna feast. The running back is going to feast this year. It's very exciting with the running back this year.
For me, watching that game, Laluetta and Peoples-Jones, those were the big two to me.
Yeah.
That really stood out, flashed. If I was in Cleveland's organization, I'd keep Keenum for the next couple of weeks just because, preseason's still there. And then I'd bounce him the hell out. Because if y'all put Laluetta on the practice squad, somebody's gonna sign that kid. Somebody's gonna sign that kid.
I say this though. I could see the Browns taking Laletta over Case Keenum. I could legit see that. And I'm just going back through history, like just the last 5 years, the Browns have a reputation of going younger. When the talent is even, the Browns always go younger. It's always been a thing for them. Like this is a team that picked Deshaun Kaiser over Blake Bortles. It was like, well, we're gonna do the season. We rather have Deshaun Kaiser as the quarterback. It's the people that went with they had a Pro Bowl punter and Colquitt, I think his name was, and they went with the Scottish Hammer. The Scottish Hammer, baby. Then with the younger leg. Then with the fresher leg, the kid out of Scotland. Scottish Hammer.
It's a cool nickname, bro.
I'm getting yelled at by J.C. Penney, Michael Jai White right now.
But like the Scottish Hammer, dude. Freaking punting the ball.
No, I got you.
Tower. He's a beast.
Yeah. I give it to him.
Greatest punter in the world.
But now, y'all had a pretty good preseason, honestly. I was honestly more excited watching y'all's game than I was the Bengals, and I was super high on the Bengals. I think our teams had the best 2 games in the AFC North this week. Like, we looked the best. There were less holes, less, issues that look like they need to be addressed immediately going forward.
Anyway, my biggest takeaway from the preseason game for the Browns was let me rephrase. Not my biggest. This was by far in no way, shape, or form my biggest takeaway, but it's kind of like the last little thing I kind of wanted to point out, which was where the fuck was the running game? I saw nothing. Like the best part about your running game is that y'all apparently got Slipknot's vocalist as your running back.
Well, man, you're not trying out your running backs though. What's the argument here? Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, your running back.
That's true. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did not play, but for me, I'm mainly focused on the run blocking.
Yeah, you're trying out.
I wouldn't put those guys out there yet. I wouldn't put them out there yet.
Man. Yeah, you don't care about the running back. You trying out those quarterbacks. You trying to figure out.
You were sitting here bragging about how you got Dearness Johnson out there as the backup to this a great amazing tandem, and he looked like trash as a runner.
The line looked like trash when he was running though, a little bit. I'm not gonna say trash is an overstatement, but he did not have good protection on those runs.
All but one guy specifically, but again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
honestly on the low though, you're not trying. I think Kevin Stefanski, the coaches having the same conversation we just had. Do we keep Case Keenum and we keep that money, or do we go with this young Laletta and make him our backup to Baker Mayfield? Because damn well they're having that conversation right now. Because he's going to be having a nice day, Case Keenum, in a minute.
Anybody that's a Cleveland fan that's watching this, if y'all go with Case Keenum, please riot, because you should.
I'm going to start a riot.
That would be a travesty. I know it's one game, but how many teams would seriously consider having Case Keenum as their backup right now?
A lot. You can trade Case Keenum, actually.
I think. The only thing about Case Keenum,
I don't see the point. He reminds me of a Kyle Orton back in the day.
A lot of people will want Case Keenum right now. Case Keenum got
the only thing
about
that is that contract. That's the only thing that I think would really kind of pull you back a little bit, because Case Keenum has experience as lots of different things in this league. But, you got that contract, which for a backup quarterback is a little ridiculous. So it's how much you really wanting to give up for somebody with that contract when, you could maybe get we went out and got Brandon Allen, who has been, as far as a backup quarterback, probably the best one we've had since A.J. McCarron. And we got him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Case Keenum shouldn't have been starting a couple years ago in Denver. When he was signed, then
It shouldn't have been, but they didn't have much of another option.
For me, I'd take a gamble on somebody younger or anybody else other than Case Keenum.
I agree.
I'd sign a Paxton Lynch over Case Keenum any given day.
I don't know. I think the Colts wouldn't mind having Case Keenum right now.
I could see that, but it's unless he's going to take next to nothing, I wouldn't pay Case Keenum anything.
Also, Thomas, we know that if you were in charge of the Colts, you would take Case Keenum over Carson Wentz anyway.
Hey, I'll take my grandma over Carson Wentz. My grandma go ham. She be stiff arming people.
The fantasy kid in me likes Carson Wentz from year 1 and year 2, but I get what you're saying.
Especially after the bull crap we saw last
year. But I mean, who knows? He could come out and surprise us this year.
He's not going to. You know why? Because he sucks.
I agree with you, but it could happen. I mean, I didn't think it'd be possible for Tebow to make it to the playoffs as a quarterback.
What has this man really done? This man literally got hurt in the Super Bowl. Like, this man let a backup quarterback win a Super Bowl for him. I'm like, how weak? How weak, man? That's weaker than Kevin Durant.
Well, not just any backup quarterback, but like Nick Foles, the guy who is the very definition of fool's gold everywhere he goes, except for apparently Philadelphia.
True, but I mean, let's be real. Foles balled out when he got those opportunities that year.
Carson Wentz peaked in the regular season. He peaked in the regular season.
I think he peaked in his first year, to be honest. But I'd still rather have him over Case Keenum, to be honest with you.
Well, Looking at Keenum won a playoff game.
Case Keenum may have never been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I can't.
Honestly, based on what we've seen from Nick Foles in the in like, you know, Chicago, basically anywhere outside of Philadelphia, I almost kind of want to say I'd rather have Case Keenum than Nick Foles as the backup quarterback. And we're including those contracts, because don't forget Nick Foles is a pretty terrible contract. Or at least he did. I don't know if he does in Chicago.
I'll say this, though. I'd rather have Nick Foles over Joe Flacco.
No. Joe Flacco's been doing all right.
Did you watch this game this weekend?
No, I didn't watch the game this weekend. But every game I've seen from Joe Flacco, like when he was with the Jets, it's like, you know, he was like he was, I felt, doing better than Sam Darnold.
Thomas, did you watch the Steelers preseason?
See, no, I did. I caught a glimpse of it, but then I was like, yeah.
Just check the highlights and you'll see what I'm saying.
I was like, yeah.
Pittsburgh wouldn't have won that game if Dwayne Haskins wasn't the king of the bitch pass.
By the way, I just want to say this. In Case Keenum's 2 playoff games, he had 88. He had 53 throws, 53 completions, 88 throws, 60% completion percentage, 589 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So take that what it was worth. But he does have a playoff win.
True.
And probably one of the coolest playoff touchdowns I've ever seen in my life. He lost to the Philadelphia Eagles to 1 Nick Foles. The ironic here. Do you see how this come full circle? You suck, Carson Wentz.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on now to a segment we haven't done in a while because we haven't had any games to talk about it. But after each Bengals-Browns game, we always like to highlight who we think the underrated players of the week are. We give out our award, each of us, And I think this might be the first time we've actually had a guest on for the underrated player of the week. So we're going to have even more people to talk about this time. But let's go ahead and start with, well, you know what, Brad, you're the guest. So why don't you start? Why don't you tell us who was for the Bengals? Who do you think doesn't get enough credit for how good they performed? Or just if we're generally underrated player anyway.
I'm gonna base it off like stuff I've seen with training camp and then the preseason game.
Yeah.
To me, it's right now it's a toss up between Shelvin and Cam Sample. I think both those kids have a lot of potential, and they had quite a few plays that like piqued that interest in me. Like I want to keep watching where they go from here.
Yeah, what did Shelvin do? Like,
he was just
plays.
He didn't have too many plays, but when he was in, he had gotten double coverage a couple of times, and just it's not one of those stat plays, but it helped with the pressure getting towards the backfield.
That is the big thing. That's why I would someone like him is what I was always hoping we would get to like pair with Geno Atkins, and it's like we never really did.
Yeah,
I think it's part of why he declined as fast as he did, because he just had so much pressure on him because there was nobody next to him except like there was Domata Peko for a little bit, but even he wasn't that great.
And then just an honorable mention, I'd throw Thaddeus Moss in there. There wasn't much work from the tight ends really outside of the blocking aspect.
Yeah.
But that 10 to 12 yarder he had, it was a nice little pickup. There's plenty of yak on it. So it's just a kid I don't think has gotten enough like notice or praise or any of that. But I think he'll make the roster, and if he does, I think he could be a big potential towards our passing threat going forward.
All right. So what do you think for the Browns then? Any particular player who stood out to you?
For the Browns, that third stringer, man, I'm spacing on his name right now. What is it, Thomas? Laletta. That kid, by and far, was probably somebody nobody was really paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was probably looking at practice squad at best, but that preseason game, that kid showed a lot. And like I said earlier, I would immediately fire Keenum and just put that kid as my number 2.
That's fair. I can definitely see that. What do you think? What about you, Thomas? Go ahead and start with the Browns. Who's your Browns underrated player of the week?
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna go with the cornerback. I'm gonna go with 2 actually. I'm gonna do 2 for 1. I'm gonna give you Greg Newsome and Greedy Williams. It looked good to see Greg Newsome out there because Greg Newsome, man, I just really excited to see him out. I'm really excited to see him. I really hope that he is a great first round pick. I think he will be. I think he's a very smart cornerback, and he just like there's not gonna be a lot of balls thrown his way. So it's good, or during preseason at least, or the season probably, because he's a great cornerback. I think he's gonna really put the league on notice. And then Greedy Williams, just great to see him back out on the field. He missed all last season with nagging injuries, so it's just great to see him out here practicing on the field playing. So hopefully this means good things moving forward for our second round pick last year. For the Bengals, I would have to say Brandon Allen for sure. I just think that it's very important to lock down that backup position because you never know when somebody can go down with injury. Brandon Allen looked good. He looked great. He looked good. He looked serviceable. Brandon Allen looked like he was doing his job. He looked like he was comfortable with the system. Look, he was comfortable with the players around him. He looked like he was comfortable running the offense, executing the plan, and he did what he needs to do. So I really like what I've seen from Brandon Allen.
Well, we know it ain't going to be Kyle Sherbert for sure. but I do have a question though about you mentioned like I Greedy Williams. I think that's a good one. But Greg Newsome, I'm not sure how much of a underrated player Greg Newsome is because, I mean, he's coming in as like, the celebrated first-round pick and all that. He's supposed to be good. So if he had a good game, that's great. But is he really underrated?
He had an average game. Yeah, okay, you're right. So you're right. So, we just talked about Kylo Lena for a whole segment. So I can't. So I was originally going to say Kylo Lena was going to be. I fully planned on saying
rightfully so, though.
Yeah. How am I going to say Kylo Lena is the most underrated player on the Browns when every single article about the Browns that came out in the last 2 days is about Kylo Lena?
True.
It's like everybody's talking about him. Everybody thinks they're smart by going with Kylo Lena. It's so saturated with Kylo Lena news and JLK news that nobody's talking about Greg Newsome. So Greg Newsome, I am giving you your props.
That is a good point. I accept your argument.
I only went with Luletta because I had no knowledge going into it. That you know what I'm saying? I watched the game and I became a fan of that kid.
But how many times have we messed up Kylo Lena's name on this podcast? And how many times have we even mentioned Greg Newsome? 3 times.
I'm bad at games, and I do something that's medically okay. Okay, you leave me alone. Don't question. But the kid played well. Like it, you can't take that away from him. It was a hell of a game.
Look, Thomas, I will absolutely concede to your point, though. I will accept Greg Newsome being underrated now that you've explained it that way, because that makes perfect sense to me now. Because you're like, I mean, yeah, he was a celebrated first-round pick, but he hasn't been talked about a whole lot. So that's fair. Yeah. I will give you that one.
Yeah, definition of underrated.
for me, I think I want to. I'm not sure how underrated he is because he's gotten talked about, but I really wanted to shout out Deontay Smith for the Bengals. Because
this is solid.
Like nobody expected this 4th round pick to come in and end up ended up getting a lot of snaps at guard. By the way, he took the most snaps among guards, which was 40. And he recorded an 84.8 pass blocking grade in the process. He wasn't as great as a run blocker. He graded 64.6. But, I mean, that's definitely the kind of performance that's going to catch the eye of the coaching staff and potentially end up with him working his way into more opportunities. So it's like, I mean, I really don't care what round you got drafted in. If you can come in here and you can play at least, Bengals fans have been talking about it, at least just be average on the offensive line. If Deontay Smith can come in and play this role and do pretty well, and apparently I looked it up, Michael Johnson did pretty well too. So it's like I'm starting to think maybe we have a little bit more depth than we thought we did. The problem is the guys who were starting didn't do so well, or the guys expected.
Honestly,
like Jackson Carmen.
I'd like to see Trey Hill get a couple snaps in preseason.
Well, that is true. Trey Hill, from what I recall, when he was on the field, he looked a little bit better than I expected. I really was skeptical about that draft pick when we made it at the time, but I mean, he looked good in the preseason. I'll give you that.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. That's one of my dark horses for the draft pick to be one of those game changers later on. Like to me, that kid could go either way. Like the way I saw him, the way I saw him playing at the Senior Bowl, I just it's hard for me to wrap my head around that guy doing anything special. But you know what? Maybe with Frank Pollock, the apparent magic maker, then it'll make it happen. Could be.
So for the Browns, my underrated player of the week is also an offensive line. Yes, Reek. Because it's the Browns, if it's Brown, flush it down.
Hey, yo, Cal. I don't usually say the F word in this podcast, but yeah. Insert F word here to you.
Oh man.
So my underrated player.
I mean, have you driven past it on the highway? You want to talk about? Nah, I'm just kidding.
My underrated player of the week for the Browns is Greg Sinnett, the I think backup right tackle.
Okay.
He got like 19. Like I talked earlier about how the Browns did basically nothing in the run game, but it was absolutely not Greg Sinat's fault. That guy got like I looked at the PFF grades. That guy got a 90.4 run blocking grade. That means he wasn't an elite run blocker in this game on 19 reps. That means if this guy ends up working his way up the depth chart for the Browns, then I mean, imagine that guy, putting on that kind of performance blocking for Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. I mean, that's scary. Now, granted, he was also going up against like second stringers, third stringers. So, I mean, he probably wouldn't do quite as much going ahead of that. But at the same time, the more, the better the Browns can get at run blocking for their already elite running backs, that's going to be something special. So, I think, Brad, you were talking about Kyle Lena. Thomas, you were talking about like everybody talks about Kyle Lena, and so I just wanted to shout out one of the big guys and just be like, hey man, I don't know if anybody else saw you, but I see you, Greg Sinat. You're out there, or Sinat. I actually don't know his name. That's how underrated he is. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But I see you. I see you with that 90.4 run blocking grade. I feel like that deserves a shout out.
One thing the reason why I love doing the podcast with you, Kyle, is because of how detailed you are and like just like the nitty gritty of football knowledge. Look, I'm about to talk about this offensive lineman. It just shows your knowledge of football so well, and I appreciate it so greatly.
Well, I appreciate you, but being a Bengals fan, I've kind of gotten obsessed with offensive line play over the last couple of years. It's kind of hard to ignore as a Bengals fan.
I'm obsessed with with offensive line players, but that's because of Joe Thomas.
Well, you don't even need to be obsessed with offensive line play to like Joe Thomas, because I mean that guy just gets out there. He's like the Pat McAfee of offensive linemen. He's just fun to listen to.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Oh, anyway, by the way, if the Bengals want to pay anybody to lead the Who Dey chant, I'm totally cool with Pat coming in and doing it.
Well, Pat doesn't like us.
You got to pay him. Just bring him in.
But Pat doesn't like us.
I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm a Pat fan. I like what he's been doing outside of NFL and sports.
I mean,
with
I like
the WWE stuff.
I've always liked Pat McAfee, but he doesn't like the Bengals, I think he doesn't like Cincinnati. I'm not sure.
No, it's not that he doesn't like Cincinnati, but he calls out the stupidity in the ownership. Like the fact that we don't have an indoor practice facility is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Nah.
In Ohio?
Nah.
Yeah, no. The Bengals have never had an indoor practice.
It's right next to the stadium. It's across the street.
Did we just teach him something? Yes, that's been a problem for years.
I was texting somebody. I was writing back a reply to a message. But like, by the way, just for real.
Yeah. Oh no. The Bengals would rather let AJ Green get injured by practicing in Dayton, Ohio, which is just the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, I mean, like, shoot,
we don't have an indoor facility. There's plenty they could use, but they don't.
I think they might kind of have that old school mentality of like, learn to play in the elements, and then we have the advantage.
All you literally got to do is build a roof in 4 walls over the current practice field. That's all you got to do. I mean, honestly, the city doesn't need that street in between the field and the practice field. Just get rid of that street and add on.
Youngstown State and Youngstown,
Ohio,
one
big building
had an indoor football stadium or indoor football facility.
Youngstown
State, an FCS school.
Yeah,
exactly.
A dominant one.
I think we're also the only franchise in NFL history to franchise tag a kicker.
I'm pretty sure the Browns tagged Phil Dawson, but
that's Phil Dawson.
That you guys don't have.
That's Phil Dawson. You can't take away the respect and admiration that Phil Dawson deserves.
Look, I'm sorry. That took me off guard. Let's go to the state of AFC North, man. I'm sorry. I am not stupider because of that fact.
Nah, I get you. It baffles us, and we live here.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about this for years. Like, I mean, that was like item number, like, maybe not item number one, but item number two back in like 2010 when we had the Houday Revolution and everybody was trying to fight back against Mike Brown owning the team. That was like one of the first points everybody makes when it's like, Mike Brown, we got to get him out of here.
Maybe if y'all was in California, I would understand, but y'all in Ohio.
Right.
Where it snows for half of the season.
Not only are we in Ohio, the practice field is legitimately less than 40 yards away from the Ohio River.
Right.
Why would they? Why?
Because Mike Brown doesn't care. That's really what it is. He don't care. He don't care. He makes his money. We show up. We pay to drink.
Pay a lot to drink.
Exactly. Why would he spend that money when we're content with accepting it anyway?
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about Bengals fans being laid back? It's almost kind of a curse.
I see why y'all laid back because y'all can't hate me for talking smack about my short quarterback. You guys are too busy being pissed off. Y'all got
people
practice
sit here and talk trash about the Bengals and stuff to us, and for the most part, we kind of have to be like, yeah, I know.
Like, dude, you don't really have it. We don't have an indoor practice facility. I can't even make fun of that. Wow.
Pittsburgh
it's not even like that's not even like win loss. Like, it's by the way, Mike Brown. Let me just roast Mike Brown for a second. Dude, you own NFL franchise. You own an NFL franchise. That's an automatic moneymaker. All you have to do is just slightly care. And you will make millions.
Billions.
It's that easy. It is literally that easy. Just put a little bit of time in.
To be fair, though, I hate I got to do this, but just the devil's advocate for Brown real quick. He's made plenty of money and never given a crap.
Just drop in the bucket. You got an NFL franchise, it's $1 billion industry. It's the most more money is made in the NFL than any sport in America by a mile. What the heck are you doing?
Well, you got to think.
Oh my God,
Cincinnati has historically the worst stadium deal for the city, and on top of that, we have no indoor facility.
Mike Brown. This is making me sad, man. I was happy.
In a weird evil way, Mike Brown might be the greatest NFL owner ever. In a weird evil way, he might be the most genius, diabolical owner ever.
I'm going to have to very slightly go to bat for Mike Brown here a little bit. The problem with him is not that he doesn't care. The problem with him is he cares and he's an idiot. Like I think the problem with the indoor facility is honestly, I think that Mike Brown has like this old school mentality of like, you know, because like the old like 70s and 80s Bengals figured, you know, like we got this like, you know, big weather and environmental advantage and we're going to use that. And so I think he thinks, oh, if we don't have an indoor practice facility, then the players will get used to the elements and then we'll have an advantage when people come over. It's the same problem of why the Bengals have made so many bad moves over the years, because Mike Brown has just insisted on him being the one who's mainly in charge of everything. And he cares so much that he wants to be in charge. He wants to be the guy doing it. And he has, there's so much ego with this guy he thinks that he can get everything. He thinks that he can do everything. He thinks he's the guy who can make all the right calls because his dad was so good at doing those things. The problem was apparently he wasn't fucking listening when Paul Brown was like, okay, delegation's a good thing too. Like bringing in other people who know what they're doing is a big part of this.
Paul Brown's great, man. I'm not going for it. Paul Brown's great. I love Paul Brown.
I don't want to get too hard on Mike Brown and say, nothing out of character. Honestly, I think he's a guy that didn't care about football. His dad cared about football. And then when his dad passed, it was given to him. But I think he's in love with money. It's historically why the Bengals have never opened their checkbook in free agency, really. Historically why we've let players go that other teams would never let go because we don't pay that money. I'm not going to say he doesn't care because at some point he probably does, but I don't really buy that old school mentality because there's no other team in the league biting to that. And we've never won a playoff game since I've been alive. I know some people are like, oh, well, it's the 89-90 season, so technically. No, that season started in 89. We ain't won a playoff game since I've been alive.
Y'all probably win this year. Anyway, let's y'all probably win this year.
Maybe.
Y'all probably win a game this year.
Maybe. Last time I started celebrating, Jeremy Hill fumbled it, and you know how that turned out.
Right. Oh my God. I was literally like this, ready to like jump out of my seat and get so excited about it. Like we finally won and we did against the Steelers. And then like he fumbled and I fell back in my seat. I'm like, bro, really?
Bro, I went from celebrating the first playoff win ever to burning my Jeremy Hill jersey within 30 seconds. It was the most anybody who thinks that Pac-Man lost that game, that Vontaze lost that game, you weren't paying attention.
Vontaze won that game, first of all.
Vontaze won the game. Jeremy Hill lost the game.
All Jeremy Hill had to do was go the fuck down.
Yep.
And you know what?
And honestly,
know what? Also,
it's debatable whether or not that hit was clean.
Also,
it's debatable.
Vontaze Burfict has also not come out after the fact talking shit to Bengals fans, being like, "Oh, imagine being a Bengals fan. Imagine like just constantly being antagonistic to the people who made your career. Like, fuck you, Jeremy Hill. You fucking idiot. You fucking asshole." I mean,
he's a nobody at this point in his career, so we see how it turned out for him. Yeah. I mean, honestly, he's been on a downward spiral ever since the year prior to that fumble. Because he wasn't really anything the year that we made it to the playoffs.
That's true. Anyway, we need to go ahead and move along to the state of the AFC North.
Wrap it.
Well, we still got this one last segment, but so every team in the AFC North won their preseason game. Notably, actually, the Ravens won their 18th straight preseason game, which is the longest preseason win streak in the entire Super Bowl era.
Congratulations! What did they get?
Do what?
Yay, Taysom Hill played like absolute dog dookie to give it to him.
Yes, it's preseason. It really doesn't matter a hill of beans. But it is the first time that the team's done that since 1962. So, that's just a nice fun fact there. And if they win their next two, then it'll be the longest preseason winning streak of all time. Which again,
I can't wait for another.
But
they get worse. They get worse as the seasons go on.
Honestly, if you watch that game, they shouldn't even won it. Just, I can't tell whether the takeaways were because the defense was good or if it was just because the defense got super lucky.
You know what I really, really wanted to like? It was hard for me to find a lot of interesting angles for the Ravens in this game. But the one thing I really wanted to point out and just kind of like figure out what the hell's going on here with this Ravens game. So they got a running back named Nate McCrary, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, the meeting's going to end in 10 minutes. I think we took a little bit longer than we thought. So we might have to go through another one. Sorry, guys. But anyway, Nate McCrary, he's like this 5th string running back for the Ravens, trying to earn a roster spot on the team. And I've never seen a stat like this before. I was going through the Pro Football Focus premium stats for this game to try to find some sort of angle to talk about the Ravens. And this dude put up a 1.3 pass blocking grade. 1.3. Like, how do you get a 1.3? Like he had what was it? It was
out of 100.
Yeah, out of 100. 1.3 out of 100.
You sure it was out of 10?
Do what?
This is 1.3 out of 100.
That sounds like Tebow's numbers for the weekend.
Something like
that. You about to get ass whooping from his mother for having bad grades in school.
Like, what could have possibly happened to warrant that kind of grade? Like, it looks like he allowed a pressure on his one pass blocking rep. But I mean, is even that bad enough to warrant such a low grade? I mean, like, so Quentin Spain, right? I think recorded like a 0.0 in pass blocking, which is something I think Bengals fans should be paying attention to. But, that's a very clean number. 1.3, something very specific happened to get this guy to get a 1.3. Like, that's a very specific number. Like, how do you get a 1.3? He had 1 rep and he allowed a pressure on that rep. How do you get a 1.3 out of that?
I don't know. I don't make those numbers, bro. Call Pro
I don't know.
Football
I've
Focus.
never seen something like that, and it goes to highlight just how bad this guy apparently is at pass blocking. Like, I mean, it had to have been something like the pass rusher completely blew by the dude, and then like out of nowhere the refs just weren't paying attention, and he kind of like tripped the guy up, and like, he caused a pressure instead of a sack. That's the only thing I can think that would have.
It's either that or it's some
1.3.
Either that or it's something personal with the guy who wrote the article. Like he slept with the dude's wife or something. I mean, it's one of the two. It's either a personal issue or he did something completely stupid.
He got a 1.3 out of 100 though. How do you explain that to your mom? Like, hey, mom, I failed my test. Like, oh, well, how bad you do? You try? Well, yeah, try it, mom. What's the score? I got a 1.3 out of 10. Mom, out of 100.
How do you get a 1.3 on a test? You just signed your name,
right?
It just said
nobody gets points for signing their name, man. Nobody gets points for signing their name, dude.
No, but I feel like if you're gonna get points for signing your name, you get more than 1.3 points.
Man, I mean, don't the SAT give you like 150 points or something like that just for signing your name?
He did a math test, right? Did those single answers right. for explaining his work for one question on a math test. The explanation was she wanted to give him something like, hey, well, at least he explained his work. So I'm gonna give him a point for explaining his work. That's it.
But here's the problem. He got a point and then 0.3 of another point. Why?
That just made my brain hurt. That just made my brain hurt so much. It's not even funny.
So the Steelers.
You sure it's not out of 10? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Steelers?
It's out of 100. But the Steelers, I want to take a second to laugh at their ridiculous offensive line, because everybody last year was like focusing on how bad the Bengals offensive line, right? Which, and in fairness, it was pretty awful. But like nobody seems to be wanting to talk about how bad the Steelers offensive line is, man. Like,
I'd say their secondary is just as bad this weekend.
Yeah, and their secondary is another thing that I think is a big issue. But like Kevin Dotson came out, and he's been in battle in Pittsburgh, and I think he played pretty well on 50 snaps. So if you got to give credit where credit's due, he got a 94.5 overall grade, and that's something. But their starting left tackle, Chucks Okorafor, which is just a fantastic name, by the way. But their starting left tackle graded 29.6 as a pass blocker. And Joe Haig, who I think is the closest thing they have to a starting right tackle, graded 47.7. I mean, these aren't just failing grades. 29.6 is like when I was in AP calculus in high school, I got like a 27 or something like that percent in the class, and it was just it was almost funny how badly I did in that class. So I mean 29.6 is like, are you guys still gonna have this guy be your starting left tackle? This is insane. The Steelers only gave up 1 sack on the day, but they gave up 2 hits, 3 hurries, 6 pressures on the day. And you think old ass Ben Roethlisberger is just going to be able to bounce back up from that like he used to? No, this offensive line is ridiculous. And I don't know what the Steelers think they're going to do. I guess they figure, well, we got to go draft Najee Harris to have any semblance of a running game because our offensive line is so bad. But why wouldn't you just fix the offensive line? I don't understand.
Out of 100, though?
Out of 100. Also,
I'm sorry. Still suck. Y'all suck, man. I don't got nothing else on this podcast, but y'all suck, Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
I can't wait till we smoke y'all on the season. Go ahead.
You know what else the Steelers did, though? They traded for Joe Sherbert.
For real?
Yeah, they traded for Joe Sherbert. He went to last year. Sherbert, he was kind of up and down in Jacksonville, but I mean the biggest problem with him is he disappeared for long stretches of time and ended up only being they traded him for a 6th round pick.
He'll probably do well in Pittsburgh.
I mean, he'll probably do. It kind of reminds me of like the whole Joe Hayden situation, where like he ended up in Pittsburgh, and he's a former Browns Pro Bowler and ends up doing well because of that. But I'm just trying to figure out how the hell the Jaguars why the hell the Jaguars keep trading like these Pro Bowl level players for like 5th, 6th round picks. Remember when they traded like Calais Campbell to the Ravens last year for a 5th round pick? Like, what the fuck are they doing? I can tell you what they're doing. They're trying to make life harder on the Bengals and Browns. Apparently, the Jaguars got like this big like vendetta against the Bengals and Browns, and I don't know.
I think
I'm not worried about them. They can have their vendetta because it's not going to work out well.
Trevor Lawrence, it's not going to work out in Jacksonville, but Calais Campbell's worked out pretty well in Baltimore. And there's a good chance I think Joe Sherbert could work out in Pittsburgh.
I think he will work out in Pittsburgh.
I honestly think Baltimore's in a lot of trouble this year. It's year 4 for Lamar. Even though I actually like Lamar a lot, he's a running quarterback
all the time. I say it every podcast. Yes, I agree with you completely.
He is a running quarterback. He is due for an injury this year. He's going to have the same issue that Cam Newton had. I don't see it ending up well for Baltimore this year if he goes down. And typically year 4 is about when a starting QB gets that one ding in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I ain't going as far as say that, but I do think Baltimore's in trouble. I just think they're in trouble. I think they're going to do better than Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's is utter trash this year. I think Pittsburgh's done.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'll be surprised if Roethlisberger makes it past week 5, to be honest.
I mean, he's trying. I mean, he's putting in more work this offseason than he had before. I think going to Joe Sherbert real quick, I really think Joe Sherbert is going to be great in that system because like Joe Sherbert opposed to Joe Hayden that's not coming in with any injuries like Joe Hayden had. Joe Hayden had some nagging injuries that probably bother him. Well, I don't think Sherbert was having a lot of injuries, but I think he should be fine to get hurt. He still got a lot. He still got a lot of tread on tire. So I think Sherbert. I think Sherbert's going to do his thing.
I think Haskins is going to be their eventual future. I don't think Rudolph's that guy at all.
He might be.
But with Haskins, he ain't that guy that can throw it 40 yards down the field. He's a dink and dunk guy. Yeah, true.
All right, so I think that's going to be pretty much do it for today's episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening. It's really been fun. if you got any thoughts about anything we said, just say them down below in the comments. If you want to be like Brad, come on the show, then just hit me or Thomas up. We're always trying to have people on the show as long as we can get it scheduled the right way. So Brad, you're the guest. Any last words you want to say? Any thoughts you have that you want to get out before?
Just want to thank you, Thomas, for having me on. It's been fun. Hope we didn't go off on too many tangents for anybody watching, but anytime y'all ask me back, I'm more than happy to come back.
Well, we
make fun of Thomas some more.
we definitely went off on a few tangents. Definitely enjoyed having you on. I will say though, Thomas, ball's in your court, man. We got to have like some Browns fans on here eventually because it's been all Bengals fans so far.
I think I know one. I think I might be able to bring one on next week or a week very soon.
All right, let's do it because, like, I feel like I feel like half of this podcast is just me ganging up on you at this point because, like, I got all these Bengals fans, huh?
I'll bring on Browns fan. Don't worry, I got you.
All right,
I got you.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for listening. You can always find more like me talking about the Bengals or whatever at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter, and then you can follow me on Facebook, Kyle at it's Facebook.com/The Phelps, and I get a lot more. I talk more about like my personal life and stuff there on Facebook too. But I'm also talking about the Bengals. There's a lot of groups and stuff like that. It's a lot more. Honestly, I like Facebook better because it's more organized anyway. But you can find more of what Thomas does at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram. And he's got a YouTube page, which is no longer called Blowdown Page. What's it called, Thomas?
It's called the Thomas J Network. We will read it.
The Thomas J Network. So go check that out. It's very good stuff. Thanks for listening, everybody. And I will leave y'all with a Who Dey.
Go Browns.
Who Dey all day, every day.